Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the West Ham Way YouTube channel with myself, Riley Finch, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. Over 200 appearances in the Premier League, almost 100 of which for West Ham. I'm joined by Matt Jarvis. Matt, how you doing today, mate?
Good evening. Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for getting me on.
No, mate, honestly, we're really excited for it. I'm actually doing this interview in a little place called Gillingham, which I know is a little bit close to your heart. I don't know if you've got any fond memories from there.
Oh, I've got loads. Special club for myself is where it all started for me. They gave me the opportunity, and I've got nothing but love for the fans that were there and or still there. Great club, great manager who I played with actually at my time at Gillingham now with Neil Harris. So
Oh, wow.
hopefully good things to come.
Yeah, I mean, here's hoping, mate. I mean, obviously released from Millwall, I think age 16, been at the club for like 8 or 9 years. That must have been quite tough for you.
It certainly was. I can smile about it now, but yeah, as a 16 year old getting told you're not good enough and getting released was hard to take. I'd been there, a long time. I think about 8 years. But it turns out it was a blessing. It was a good thing in the end. I managed to turn it around, get myself to Gillingham, which it took a while. I'm not going to lie. It was hard. One of the scouts straight away was like, "Oh, come and play in a game tomorrow for Gillingham," and I said no because I think it was just too much too soon, and it took me about 2 weeks really. Luckily, they kept on messaging me. Otherwise, who knows what happened? But I went into Gillingham and it all just clicked for me, which was great. And then obviously it was nice to then go on my journey and obviously get the chance to play against Millwall as well.
Were you close to signing for any other club, or was it kind of always Gills?
I think it was always going to be Gills at that point in time. As I said, that it was a fantastic opportunity for me in the to get like a YTS at the time. Great club. I went in digs. Actually, my digs was Ryan Bertrand and his family, which is crazy. Yeah. So I lived with him for nearly 3 years, which was awesome. And then he signed for Chelsea, which was yeah. So, but no, really, really amazing experience. Where I started to learn the game properly. Realised that there's a lot that rides on it. There's it's not just it's a friendly kickabout. It means a hell of a lot, and it's a men's game. It's lots of people's livelihoods were on the line, and I really embraced it. I had some fantastic older pros in the change room at the time that took me under their wing and gave me some really good advice and helped me around the change rooms and in general the whole package. That was a really great starting point for me.
Yeah, and obviously the advice paid off, mate, because you ended up getting yourself a nice little move to Wolves. I mean, that's where you spent the majority of your career. But we don't really care about that, do we? We want to know about the West Ham stuff. That's where you got your move. You got the move to West Ham in 2012, playing under Sam Allardyce. But how did that all sort of come about, getting to West Ham? What was this whole story behind that?
So I knew that West Ham were interested in me. Obviously, at the time they're in Championship, it was your playoffs. So I knew the interest was there. So I was already a converted West Ham fan, straight through the playoffs to hope and pray that to West Ham would get promoted. As Wolves, where I was at, it got relegated. I wanted to get back and play in the Premier League. I played for England. I'd statistically, I suppose, if you want to go down that route, I put in the most crosses in Europe. I put in the most successful crosses in Europe. I'd scored 8 goals in the last 13 games in the Premier League season. I was in really good form, and I wanted to just continue that and to play in the Premier League. So, West Ham is a huge club and was a huge club at the time. So it was just the perfect scenario that them to get promoted for the playoffs. It took a while. There was a few bids that got rejected. There was a few things that took a lot longer, but eventually it got done, and it was incredible to sign for the club. You know how big West Ham is, but actually when you join, I joined for at the time the club record signing, so there was so much around it that you don't get to appreciate how big the club is and the surrounding supporters and everything that comes with that package. And it was it's amazing to be a part of the family.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, some people grew up with the old, the old players, but I grew up honestly with the Matt Jarvis, the Stuart Downings, the Colton Coles. Like, you were the sort of guys that I was watching growing up, and I sort of was loving it, loving it when sort of you came to the club. Was Sam Allardyce a big sort of pull for you coming to the club as well? What was he like to be managed under? He seems like a firm but fair character.
I think the best way to describe Sam is like he's an old school manager, but he's got all of the new technology and statistics and GPS and everything. So he's like training ground is quite old fashioned in the sense that he took the defenders and worked on the shape and defensive line. Then he'd drill us on set pieces and your formation and where you were supposed to be on the pitch for your team, and then the other flip side of that was he was so far in front of anyone else with statistics and video analysis and doing the whole thing, running stats after games, the percentage of where goals are scored. He used to break the season down to 8 games. So when I first signed, he'd gone, like, just been promoted through the playoffs. First season in the Premier League, the objective was to finish 10th. To do that, you needed this many points. That's this many wins, this many draws, this many losses. That's scoring this many goals, conceding this. And he broke it down into all these finer details. And actually, it helps because you're always going to come up against a really difficult run where you're going to come up against the big hitters all in a row. And if part of them were in the first 8 and we were, I think we were supposed to get our points projected, I suppose, in the first 8 games was like, I don't know, 10 points. I think we got 14. So it was like, you've done really well in the first 8, and then you can just sort of focus on the next 8. But if 2 of them in the previous one were like Man City and Man United and you lost both, you then can switch into the next 8 and you get the next 2. So it keeps your mind ticking over and making it a bit more objective, and it's sustainable. So you don't get in a rut because you've lost a couple of games in a row. Some might be in the previous week, section, and it made it a lot more simplified. And I think that's what he did very well.
I'll tell you what, that really surprises me about Sam. To be fair, I didn't think he'd be that kind of sort of manager. I thought he'd be a great man manager, but I did think all the sort of stats and stuff would just sort of fly over his head a bit. I didn't think he'd be that kind of guy, like, looking so far to the future. I mean, obviously, when you were at the club, we were going through a bit of a period. We literally just come back, obviously, to the Premier League. Was there a feeling that we could become the club we are now, fighting for Europe? Did that ever come across your mind when you sort of played for us?
100%. I think you look at the first season, we finished 10th. It's an incredible achievement for the first season back in the Premier League. And the squad of players that there was at the club then and the players that were brought in after that, it showed. I put it back to watching West Ham last year in the Europa League campaign. The changing room, the togetherness was so apparent, and you could see that everyone's pushing in the same direction, everyone's working for each other. That's how I felt the changing room was when I first joined, and how it while I was there. You could feel that togetherness. You can feel like you look next to you. We always use this thing about the trenches, and like, if you look to your left, that there's going to be someone that's going to be fighting your corner next to you. And that's exactly how I felt when I joined. And I feel like that's where it was last year and where it will continue to be at that club. I think that embodies West Ham.
So you talk about the togetherness in the dressing room. Who were like your main compatriots in the dressing room there? Who were like your go-tos?
there's honestly, when I first joined, there's so many. You look at, like, obviously Nobes, you had Jack Collison, Tonks was there, Ginge, Kev Nolan, Reedy, Joey O'Brien. There's so many. The list could go on and on. It really was. You walk into any part of the whether it was the getting breakfast, having lunch, or in the gym or in the physio room, the togetherness. You can go and have a chat with everyone. It would really feel like that. And I think little trips away always help them. And like, if there's any afternoons that we were did some sort of team bonding thing, you could really feel that was such a great experience and such a good thing for the players to all be together. Because as I said, that pulls you through when the games are tough and you really need to dig in. You feel like you can trust your teammate, which is a huge thing to have.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, listen, mate, I think you're a bit of an expert winger. I think you're a bit of a winger maestro. What do you make of one of our best wingers, Rice Bowen, at the moment? What do you make of him?
I think he's been excellent. I think it was a really good bit of business when first got him because not unknown. That's really unfair, but
Mm,
no one sort of took the chance on him. I think he just needed an opportunity, and West Ham gave him it, and he has repaid them back. And I would say, similar to me in the sense that he just likes to. He gets the ball. He likes to drive forward, take players on, and he cuts inside. He either has a shot or he's crossing, and I think he's quite direct. And I think that's with wide players. I know it's ever so slightly different now. We still try and play that inside wide player. Everyone sort of does, but Bowen especially likes to stay out wide, likes to get the ball and then drive forward. And he's been sensational. And I was so pleased to see him get his England call. And fingers crossed, staying fit and producing like he has been, he can get there and be in the England squad and go to the World Cup and have a fantastic opportunity to do well.
Well, I mean, another player who's surely going to the World Cup is Declan Rice. I mean, what can we say about this man, mate? I mean, he's just phenomenal, isn't he?
Absolute phenomenal. Someone sent me a picture long ago. There was me playing in I think it was a 23s game for Norwich at the time. I'd just come back from injury. I played, and it was a picture of me and Dec was playing. It was right next to me, and I was I could not believe the picture. He's outstanding. I'll give him the highest praise. He is outstanding for such a young player to perform at the highest level on a regular basis. Is nothing short of incredible. And at the same point, he's still so down to earth. He's a brilliant person to be around and to have in your team. He will do everything, and you can see it now. I was saying this last year when he took the captain's armband as well. His stature when he walks onto the pitch, his frame, he stands up tall, he holds it, and he can take that pressure. He can be that person like he's learned from Nobes. Nobes has learned from Kev. It's just the way it is, and he really is a top player, and he performs on a weekly basis, and he loves the club. He's done incredibly well so far, and fingers crossed, he can continue to play week in, week out. And as you said, for England, outstanding. What a prospect to have for the next 10 years. Incredible player. So Declan Rice, high regards.
Well, mate, as a West Ham fan myself, of course, he's in high regards for me. He's one of my all-time probably favourite players to watch at West Ham. He is different gravy. But, we haven't had a great start this season. It's no secret. Moyes might be under a tiny bit of pressure. What do you think's going wrong at West Ham at the moment? Have you watched much of us this season?
I have. I've been lucky enough to go down, and I'm doing some regular ambassador roles at the club now. So I'm a lot of the match days, the home games. So it's been great for me to be able to go back and watch and be a part of it all over again. So yeah, obviously results have been disappointing. At the same time, I think it's coming off the back of such an incredible season last year. The whole experience, the emotion, everything that put into last year is always going to play a part for the following year. You're never going to be able to build that as much as possible. But the biggest thing to take from last year is that squad of players, that 11, there's probably 13, 14 players that was the squad really. And they played every single week. Everyone knew their roles and responsibility. David Moyes has done a fantastic job of drilling them, know what they have to do and how they're going to play. This year, it was screaming out for a squad of players. To be honest, it was screaming out in January to add a few more, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. I'm sure they said they were trying to do all sorts, and I completely understand why. In the end, maybe it didn't happen because they would have had to pay over the odds for this and that, and absolutely fine. But this season is going to be the best transfer window I think West Ham have had in ever. I think.
Oh, definitely.
It's
when you joined, obviously.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But outstanding. the caliber of player that is signed as well is nothing, such a great window, and it's going to take time because Moyes, he likes to have a settled team, a settled squad of players. So now it's about trying to keep everyone happy because now we have got a strong squad that's able to cope with the Premier League and the Europa Conference League, and now it's about getting the new players to blend into the system, to know exactly how everyone links with each other. That we're saying about Bowen, he's got to have such a good relationship with his fullback, and then the same on the other side and the midfielders. So it just takes a little bit of time. It won't take long. And yes, it's been disappointing results, but the performances, you look from the other night, we had the Europa League first half wasn't particularly great. So then what can you do? You make substitutions. That wasn't really there last year. Now we made the substitutions and it changed the game, and you go on and win the game. And that's the difference this season to last. And I think, yes, results are important. And I think, they, as the weeks go on, you're going to need to pick up points. And that's obvious. But it's about gelling that squad together and then picking the best possible team for each game. And that's going to be the difficult thing for David Moyes.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's a difficult one for all of us. I mean,
well, you don't have to make them decisions.
Well, I mean, quite luckily, I don't have to make those decisions. Neither do you. But just week in, week out. Last year the team sort of picked itself, didn't it? You knew what you were getting. But this year it's so much more difficult. I'm going to put you on the spot here, mate. I'm going to ask you a question. It's a debate that runs rampant through West Ham Twitter, just throughout West Ham. And it's that left-hand side. It's, do we need, Benrahma or Fornals? Which one do you think should be starting for us on the left-hand side? They're such different players.
Cornet.
Well, I mean, now we got Cornet. I mean, considering that is your position, mate, the old left wing, I was just wondering which of those players do you reckon should be starting for West Ham for the left wing?
Again, it is a very difficult one because to be honest, last season Fornals was exceptional. I'm probably going to say at the start of the season I was probably going to say I'm not too sure, but he proved me and everyone he was a fantastic player. So he earned the right to start the season, which he has. Benrahma's got all of the ability in the world. He really has. He's a really technically gifted player. It's just that consistency with him to keep it going every week. But I like Cornet as well. I really do. I think he's exciting. He gets people off their seats, which is what I liked as being a wide player. You like that buzz from the crowd when you get the ball and you want to take players on. I think that's what he brings as well, with pace and trickery. And I think he's shown already in the games that he's played. He was like chopping onto his right, chopping onto his left. He put a fantastic ball for Schumacher to score with his header. I think that was in the Europa League game. I think it's about the opponent as well, because you need that defensive work the other way, which I'm sure David Moyes will be chomping at the bit if no one's recovery runs are up to standard. So it's a difficult one. I'd like to. Fornals earned his spot at the start of the season, so that was completely fair enough. And then it's just about him. If he performs, he can stay. He's got to keep the shirt. If he doesn't, or if they want to mix it up, I think everyone else has just got to take their opportunity. And for me, I would probably like to see Cornet have a go and see what he can do, because Benrahma can also play in different positions as well. So, and he's had a few more games recently, which needs to show everyone what he's got on a consistent basis, which is bundles of ability.
I love that. It's a very politician's answer, answering it without exactly answering it.
It's not my first rodeo on that one.
Listen, your media team's trained you well. You're not going to get caught out by someone like me, mate. But listen, it's not too long ago that you were playing that spot yourself. I mean, you're only just sort of retired. I think was just about a year ago now.
Yes, a year ago. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you were kind of forced into it with the injuries you're getting towards the end of your career. Do you regret having to retire so soon? Are you chomping at the bit to kind of get back on the pitch, or?
I think for me it was a difficult one. I had 4 operations in 3 years. I got told to retire by the specialists. I also got offered a pay up at Norwich for over a year, and I turned it all down because I wanted to play. I'd worked so hard to get myself fit. then something else went wrong, and I worked myself hard to get myself fit, and then something else went wrong. I took it upon myself to be, I'm not getting told when I'm going to retire. I'd worked too hard. I've missed out on a lot of my son growing up because we made the decision for me to sort of stay in Norwich to work on rehab, get yourself fit. So I wanted to make it, what's the word I'm trying to say? I wanted to make it worthwhile that I missed out on, my son growing up to get myself fit and to prove that I could still play. And I did. And I played another year and a half. And I was able to come to terms with I've done what I've wanted to do. I have no regrets about, I could not have given it any more effort, determination. I couldn't have put anything else into my life of football. And I was at ease to make the decision after a year and a half of playing to call it a day. And I would love to play. But I know it was the right decision, and I'm not going to say happy with it, but everyone has to retire one day, and I never thought I would, like every other player, but it is what it is. And I keep myself fit, and I, hope and wish that I could have possibly played a bit more, but that's the way it is.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, you had a great career, and it's, retired at 36. I wouldn't say that's any bad going, would it, really? I mean, it looks like you're enjoying your retirement.
But, I can't complain. It was 19 years of playing, professional football. I played for my country. I played in the Premier League for 8-9 years. I can certainly look back, especially when I do podcasts like this, and you sort of look back and you can go, actually, I've done pretty well. So I can be happy.
So I've heard you've got your coaching badges, and I know you've been in a little bit of punditry. Which sort of side are you going for? Because when the players retire, they sort of choose a side. They either do punditry or they do coaching, or they end up like Gary Neville and then they go back into punditry. So do you know what sort of next for you, or are you just going to try and dip your toes in everything?
No, look, at the moment, I do have my coaching badges to a certain point, but I'm really enjoying doing the punditry. I love doing the media side. I love still being involved in the game. Just the other side of it. I still get to watch all the games. I still get to have my opinion and comment on it, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm trying to do as much as that as I possibly can. And it's nice to as I said, to come back to West Ham on the ambassador side and be at home games and be a part of the club again.
Obviously, being a player, I think all of you lot probably used to be a bit like, why is this random guy on the telly slating me every week in, week out? Do you ever sort of feel to yourself that you got to take it a little bit easy on these players because of that, or do you're retired now, you're not making any friends, no holds barred. If you're playing bad, I'm going to call you out on it.
No, look, I'm very diplomatic in what I would say, because I don't feel like you need to hammer anyone on the pitch. You can, if someone's made a mistake, you can say they've made a mistake. No one's doing anything on purpose. So everyone's got their own ways. I'm myself on any of these media and punditry things, and if something needs to be said, then I would say it, and if it's right or wrong, then that's my answer or my decision, and hopefully I get more right than I get wrong. So, and I really enjoy it, and that's the best thing. I'm able to watch or comment on football, which is what I would be doing anyway. I'd be sat at home watching it myself, because I've really football's been my life, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Well, I love to hear that, mate. Look, just before we let you go, I mean, it's been brilliant talking to you, mate, but we all want to know, where's West Ham finishing this season, and what are our chances of winning the Conference League?
I'll go with the Conference League first. I think we've got a fantastic opportunity. We really do. Obviously, performances in the Premier League haven't been as well as we would have hoped, but still in the competition, performing well, getting the right results. So I really do feel we've got a great opportunity to win the competition. I really do, especially with the squad of players now. Each time you're getting through the stages in the Conference League, the team's going to be more and more gelled as the games go on, and I think that we're much better equipped this year than we were last year when we get into the latter stages. And as I said, I think we've got a really good opportunity to win. As far as the Premier League goes, it's always going to be hard this year. I think, although we've spent a lot of money, so has everyone else, and everyone else is strengthened as well. Obviously, having a difficult start doesn't help because you're always going to be playing catch up. I think realistically, you're looking at top 7, 8, maybe. I'm hoping that I will say top 6. There's no reason why we can't. That's for sure. I would just, as I said, everyone else has started to strengthen, but there's no reason why top 6 isn't able to be achieved, especially with the squad of players that we've got and the manager that's in place.
Well, Matt, thanks very much for joining us today. I've had a pleasure chatting to you, and thanks everyone for watching. See you on the next one.